Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're back with horses. I'm going to show you step by step how you can paint this gorgeous, abstract, expressive horse head. He's so colorful. He's such a great horse portrait in acrylic step by step. Now, to help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
Because this is part of a 30-day painting program. You can just paint this one. That's totally cool. But this is part of a collection of daily paintings where I get together with my community every day from April 1st to April 30th, no joke, and we do a step-by-step acrylic painting. This year's theme is abstract, so everything is about abstract art, from modern abstract to this sort of expressive, emotional abstract where you can kind of, that's a horse, right? It's just a colorful horse. Now, if you don't feel like drawing, that's okay. If you check the description below, you're going to find things under the more. You got to open the more or just go to the artsherpa.com where you can find all of these. You can also go to my website. But if you open more, it's going to tell you materials and brushes. I like to hide things down there. Links to the website. Links to the traceable if you don't want to draw. I'm going to show you how I draw it. If you're in the school, we're going to go over some extra stuff. There's a school. If that's the extra kind of support that you need, we have that available to you. But these lessons here on YouTube are free and the resources there on that website are free. So whatever works for you, that's perfect for you, I've got your back. There's tons of resources on the website that you can check out. So open up that more, go see that, get your paint, get your brushes, come back, and I'm really going to show you for real how to paint this gorgeous painting step by step. Come on, let's go. So on today's project, we have an 8x8 surface. The colors on the palette are phthalo green, phthalo blue, cad red medium, cad yellow medium. This is the lemon yellow Hansa. Remember, you can use a lemon light, yellow light, cad yellow light, lemon yellow, any yellow that's listed as light. We just want that green biased yellow. Quin red. Quinacridone magenta. Quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, Mars black, titanium white. There is a quin red, but this one is the quin magenta.
That's a quin magenta.
It's a quin magenta. Totally different. Shall we put up a step?
Step one.
All right, so I'm going to loosely sketch this in. Now, this would be a stage where you could use the traceable for this, but you don't have to use the traceable. You can follow along with me. I'm going to take a little bit of my black and brown together, and that's going to be my sketchy color. And I'm going to kind of just generally place in where the central topic's going to be. I use a little angular lines and my knowledge of, anatomy for this subject to help me get it through. I sometimes might change scale. Really, what I'm much more concerned about is finding a space that is, I'm going to move that jawline in. So that I can work the abstract around those elements of structure and be playful. I think it's how we're going to get there. I'm adding a little sort of ocular space. You have to decide always, are you going to pin the ears back or are we going to go forward? And I think I'm going to go forward on this one.
That says something different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but you know what? Not dramatic enough. Sometimes I like to look at how something is. And decide if what I want to do is go another direction. And I do like that. So I do kind of vacillate always between positioning of the ears because that does dictate the horse's mood. And again, it's abstract, so it's very changeable as we go. You've just got to figure out where you want everything to sit. And it's really all I need is like this light little sketch, just a little bit placed in, so that when I come back with my loose painting, it's still anchored in something. So let's call that a step, and we come back, we're going to use a round brush.
Step two.
Step two. And I'm going to just use this number 10 Raphael Textura round. I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to come here. I'm actually going to work the eye in early. And the nostril. And the reason for that is that once those things are in, right, certain architectural elements, the rest of it can be very expressive and still read as equine. So a lot of times I'll come in and sort of work that out. I'm going to get a little bit of white and blue. Kind of pop along some of these things. Get the little overall shape I'm looking for. And then it's fairly easy to work the rest of that out when you're ready. I'm going to grab a little bit of my burnt sienna and my cad red and cad yellow, making an orange. And coming in on a bit of this inside corner. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah, you're going to want to zoom in a little bit more so that you can catch that. And a little bit of a corner there. Little cad yellow and cad red. This isn't the end all be all of what we're doing on the eye. I'm going to come on the toe of the brush with black. And so this is where if you're, maybe your drawing skills were a bit lacking, right? You might want to use the traceable in this initial placement of the eye. And come down. I'm just kind of working the nostril. I was just darkening it. I do this to John every once in a while, and I shouldn't. I should not do it to him, but I kind of do sometimes. I'm gonna add that little divot above the eye. That'll be a big deal. I'll kind of come down with this gray. Once that's in that far, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry everything and come back with a detail brush and pull this detail all together. So to be able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to put my glasses on and I'm going to get down to my number 2 detail brush. I'm going to go back into my red and yellow tone with just a little bit of brown. And I'm going to come in here kind of brightening up just a bit of that inside of that eye. Maybe go into a little more brown. Just kind of working that out. Now, sometimes I like to pull a little magenta over to this mix and, you know, you get a little white into it. Get this where it comes off the brush. Sometimes it's hard to get it to come off the brush. Let's come on the inside of the eye. Trying to tap out a little bit of a space there. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue and green together and quite a lot of my titanium white. Make a little triangle highlight right here. Go ahead and just get right into my yellow, but I haven't rinsed my brush. So we're just putting that color all around that space, aren't we? Mm-hmm. That really helps us. And a little bit of the blue on that inside line. And add a titch of a reflection. That is really all we need to do, unless we want to go bright, bright orange, just to push it because it is fantastical. Like maybe I want to take it to like a brighter, brighter. At that opposite edge. Oh, that's nice. I like that. So we'll back up from that. Ah, lovely. Right?
Yeah.
Still haven't set my ear yet, but I do want to get the kind of background in now. So I'm going to back out of some of this for a second. I'll put these brushes aside. I'll be back into them in a minute. And let's start painting in our fun background. Step 4. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white and my lemon yellow and start painting in our little background. And I'm picking the lemon yellow and the light just because I think it's going to make an exciting fun energy, especially with all the colors. And I'm adding a little more lemon yellow at that corner and just kind of blending that out. So you can see it. It's definitely here. It's super bright. I'm going to edge around the side of this. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone magenta and then kind of tip it into my brush and mix it into the white here. I'm going to come into the background with a little bit of that. And let's add some ultramarine to it to kind of grade out. See how that's doing? And I'm just softly kind of blending this little glow of color there. Come back with a little bit of the phthalo blue. And again, it's very soft. A little scribbling kind of around here. Never underestimate the power of the scribble. All right, that's pretty expressive and wild, isn't it? I think so. Let's dry everything and come back and I'll show you what you're going to do next. All right, so for the next part, I have set aside some paper towels and some tape because I'm going to want to cover up my eye and make sure that as I get messy, I don't lose my hard work. I'm using the low tack tape that I use to hold my easel in place. Remember, my easel is tilted, so sometimes that will make messes kind of go downwards via gravity. My horse what?
Your horse has blinders on.
He has blinders. Now I'm going to come here and kind of work in my little ear.
That makes the horses all calm.
What?
When you put the little things over
Yeah,
their eyes.
it didn't work for him. He's not feeling it. And I'm going to kind of reset maybe the arcing of that neck there. And again, as I get messy or as I'm working things out, as you do, and I do like doing that, it's important to know that, and maybe I'm going to put some, I don't know when I'm going to go splattery, so I'm going to just put some catch the splatter around, right? I'm just trying to protect some items around. If my expressive moment gets a little, what? I'm adding a little light yellow to the phthalo green and white. Okay.
You just
I just
made
beat
the
it.
Psh. Whoa, there's some splatter. It's like, wow. I guess it runs down. You're on a little angle there. So
I'm on an angle, so keep in mind that that is happening for me. And so it will impact me thoroughly. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and cad red and maybe some of my quin magenta together. I'm going to come here, even while it's wet, kind of work those in. Come along, grab a little of that quin. And I'm going to push this around expressively. Bring that back. It's messy. It's hard to handle the mess. It is. And I get that. And a lot of times I like to pick up the extra water off my palette and put it onto my paper towel so my palette doesn't get too wet to work. Because sometimes it'll make the rest of my techniques difficult to manage. And nobody needs that. I'm going to come again a little phthalo blue and titanium white here. That goes a little more baby blue. And I'm just scribbling that out. See what we're doing? Scribbling it out. Come get some yellow. And I'm picking up the brush and dropping it and scribbling. Scribbles are those things in like abstract painting that look like they should be simple and a kid would do them and yet come up and just aggravate the heck out of us. I'm going to add some yellow up here. You know, it gets to be a challenge, my friends. It really does. You're like, this should be easy. So again, this is the number 12 Textura Bright, right? And I'm just using the Bright because it gives me some nice edges and angles, and much like a calligraphy brush, the chisel is really nice. I'm adding some thick white because that's very expressive and intense. I'm letting the drip drip. I don't know that I want the drip to be just that. I feel like that's going to just look like a booger running off his nose. So I might try to come in and get a little control in this way. So what I'm doing is, it's not that I want to take the drip away, but I want to not have it so quickly impact our mind as like one particular thing. I've got a little water on my brush in the blue, and and it definitely comes back and gets me. I always leave these with like colorful freckles. But that's where we are. And so you can see why I didn't want my eye to be exposed to that wildness, that just mayhem that we have going on here. I want to dry everything. Now you can allow it to just dry, or you can use your hairdryer. If you use your hairdryer, anything that's really wet may blow one direction or the other. The workaround on that is to use a diffuser. That is pretty good. But when we come back, let's just make sure this is dry. Throw a diffuser on if you're going to use a hairdryer, or make sure you hold it far back from the canvas. Okay? Well, I think we've got a fairly beautiful mess going so far, and you're just doing wonderful. And I want you to know that your scribbles are valid. Sometimes it's hard to feel like our own scribbles are valid, but they are. All scribbles are valid. I'm going to use a small angle brush. This is a 1/2 inch angle. It's you could use the long handle or the short handle. This is the Raphael Soft Acryl. This is the Catalyst Princeton. It doesn't really, whatever your preference is. This is a preference kind of a thing. I'm going to come in and kind of get my brush wet, and we're going to start painting in the horse. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and a bit of my cad yellow, and my quinacridone magenta together. And I'm going to come along the front. And just paint these colors as I'm going. I'll go over into my orange. Kind of catch that little side of the eye. Come into my yellow. Just working some colors that I like, right? That are energetically interesting to me. Maybe a little white. A little blue, a little green, a little lemon yellow light. Create that really vibrant turquoise. And I'm going to just pull this down in very random little brush strokes. Right, that's where we're trying to get into. Maybe get a little bit of that yellow. Let's go into our blue, phthalo blue. And pure phthalo blue. It's not terrible, and it's quite colorful at this stage. We've got to be pretty thrilled with that. I'm going to take my quinacridone over here and my ultramarine blue, and they make kind of a nice violet. I'm going to just take my 1/2 inch angle and come over here and just, you know, put some violet down. Not some violence, just some violet.
Right.
Some blue back here. Some bright magenta pink there. Coming around the eye. And you'll see that the eye being done the way it is. Let's do our ear just real quick. We're just covering with bright colors at this stage. So when we put in a couple items in that sort of very realistic space, it allows us some freedom. I'm going to bring a little purple here.
I like it when you do this with the color and you're kind
of define that little far eye, maybe. Come up along the line on that purple. Just as something kind of strong and that we can do. All right, so we've got that. Yeah, but it really does. It lets us play with how we use color and how we even use value and brushstroke and everything, and what is painted in a tidy way and what is painted in a very loose, expressive way. Now, to get to the next part of this, I definitely, very much definitely want to dry this. So I'm going to combine my brush stroke with a little bit of knife work. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red here, And I'm going to go ahead. It already had some magenta in it. I'm going to come off the neck. I've done a bead on the right side. You see I've loaded that on the right side. And I'm going to kind of just try to carefully get up to what I have here. Maybe that goes across. That's actually kind of nice. I'm going to take a little bit of my white. And get kind of a soft coral here. I have to put out some more cad red in a minute, but this is just really nice. And I want the two values, you know. So I'm going to come over the top, right over the wet paint. See how that is? And a little bit up here. And really this is about just pulling your knife on the plane of the canvas. It just really helps to get it just on the plane. I'm going to take a little more white. I'm going to put it here. And it's fun to see those scribbles against those brush strokes, against the splatters, against the knife work. I'm going to take a little of my lemon yellow. And that's vibrant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And load it up again. And we're going to come over the peach and come down. Now, if I lose the cleanliness of the knife, I have to wipe it off on a paper towel and come back. But this is just about skipping. I'm not trying to mix the paints together. I am letting them sit on top of each other. That's how we're getting that. And then you can see that's how it looks at the end. It's not that it didn't pick up any, but I kept my pressure light and I glaze across the top. And that lets me get that bit of, you know, expressive knife work, which you wouldn't really get any other way. Now, I do want to dry this a little bit. I'm not really going to be in these spots too much, but that said, because these paints are thick, it is helpful sometimes to dry everything completely so you can move on to the next space. Now, I wouldn't rest my hands on any of these paint, and I would definitely give them a few weeks to dry before I varnished, but you can work this now, and all you have to be aware of is just not to be too hard on this. Think of this as like before they had gel nails with the UV light and you had to just sit there and wait for it to dry, and there was that moment where you were kind of dry but not really dry and you could still ding it. It's like that. Okay, so we're going to come around and paint some of these little areas. I'm going to grab some light turquoise. That was the phthalo blue, phthalo green, and in this case a little of that lemon yellow. And I'm going to come here and come off the back of that eye. And I'm going to come to the back of that nostril and maybe a couple places here. Just something nice. Kind of like that very much. Bring a little of that right there. So we're layering, right? We're letting depth and stuff happen. And really, honestly, when you get into the depth of it, let's get a little bit of our magenta and some of our purple in there and white. You start to get like this sense, a little more ultramarine blue, and come back on the divot. I'm going to bring this down a little bit into that area. I'm going to get a little more magenta and white in there. And I'm going over colors that I have, but I'm adding to the depth of them. And that does make a difference in what you're painting. It really does. Maybe a little more turquoise here and a little above there. I'm going to grab a little of my yellow and red, and I'm going to get it on the corner here. And I'm going to highlight that far space on the eye and come above the blue right here. I want a pretty light orange. And we're coming over the red, so it's going to stay quite light, right? It's going to stay quite orange. And we'll go lightly over that purple because you can see where it gets into that purple, it's going to start to desaturate, but it's nice to have that transition. Come a little bit over the eye. Maybe a little bit of the lemon yellow and the magenta. It's kind of a neat, strange peachy color. Come up over this nostril and inside. So again, we're still painting things sort of. I'm going to actually go right into where I had that purple. That was really fun. Let's get some ultramarine blue. It's going to gray out a bit. We're getting there. It's still kind of a whole journey. Kind of come under the lip there. Putting a little of that purple in. Get into my turquoise. Kind of blending it forward. I'm really just playing with those planes. What am I wanting out of the moment? Well, I want him to be super colorful, right? That is a thing that I'm trying to get out of this.
You achieved that.
I
Super
got it.
colorful. I like it.
I'm getting it. We feel like he's colorful. I'm going to get kind of a light pink here. And come along the outside edge. We're just making sure that the top of that ear is anchored there. It's not the only thing I have to say about the ear. It's just, this is what I have to say right now. Now I'm going to dry everything so I can do the next layer because this is all about getting those layers in. I'm going to switch back into my number 10 Raphael round. I'm going to get back into my dark purple, which is my Quinn, and my ultramarine blue. And I can even get a little of my phthalo blue into it to darken it. And I'm going to come off here and make some long kind of S-curve lines going off there. That has some energy to it. Come around the nose here, that dark purple, and I'm going to bring that back there. Just, you know, pulling that muzzle back a bit. So always like sort of playing with the line and form, what I anchor, what I emphasize, what I choose to focus on. And you can see why I wanted to be able to go over that and paint over that artist, knife area. In a couple places here I might come back and pull that back. I'm talking a little bit about the mane. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a lot. I can go a little bit into my white here. And by even just adding some highlights over the shadows, exaggerate what I have. I like to leave some pieces out. We don't need to dry anything, but we can call that a step for right now. I'm going to come over to my coral, which was my CAD red and white. And I'm going to come to this little part of the ear and sort of highlight some elements of that. Not all of it, but just some. Curve a little bit of a line along this jawline. And kind of scribble that around. So energetically, I put a value there, but also that sort of act of scribbling has its own power. Let's come down into the nose. Again, I'm going to go magenta and ultramarine blue, but a little heavier in the magenta this time. Kind of add those highlights to the nose right here up to the top and then to the curl. Can always get into the blue. And then maybe even into the more blue. It's kind of nice just pulling those out. A lighter, 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 lighter. Very light pink. Just a little bit along the top of that. See, it's just about being brave with your color. Got to be brave with the color, don't we? A little bit of the blue and the green. And a little bit of white. Get into that lemon yellow even. Oh, that's over here. Scribble that back. So the scribbles out there are starting to become the scribbles here, aren't they? And that's kind of wonderful. I like that. The way that orange and that blue play against each other. I'm rinsing out my brush and I'm going to make another bright orange, which is my CAD yellow and CAD red. Maybe get some like just pure yellow there. Really brighten it up. Little scribbly. Oh, isn't that fun once it starts to really layer up, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to scribble up here into the ear. Maybe a little bit back there because that's super fun. I'm feeling brave. I don't know. I'm going to take a little bit of my red and white here. Kind of add some energy there. Something a little brighter. Little yellow there. A little bit of touches of the peach. It just pulling them in together, finding the spaces where they are and they can like pop out from each other. Now I want to dry this as much as I can. I'm going to stay on my round and I want to play with some of the values here. I'm going to get back into my dark blue, which was my ultramarine blue and phthalo blue and a little magenta, right, which was making our dark color. And kind of pull that down past the ear, I think, and up into our hair that's up there. I think that's gonna help sort of set that. I'm just thinking about these lines, right? These architectural lines. Now, one of the things I feel is I want some highlights a couple places. So I'm going to take a little of my white and maybe my lemon yellow. Because I just feel like we needed a little more there. You guys can see that. I'm going to grab a little of my yellow and some reds kicked in it, so see how that value really helps it? Helps pop it up. Very light purple. That definitely, we needed that there just to pop that color a bit. Add a lot more yellow and red and come here and add some vibrancy to the squiggle that I have here. Right down into making sure there's some cad red in it. Put some cad red in it. Right there along that jaw. Oh, I like that. That's powerful. All right. I need to dry this thoroughly and then we'll come back and do another step. So in this last little bit where we pull it all together and we just take it over the top, I'm going to use another liner. This one is the number 1 a liner from Princeton. You could still use the number 2 Raphael. And I'm going to use fluid white acrylic paint. Now, you could use your regular white acrylic that you thin with water, but I want hyperpigmentation for what I'm doing. So this is where I'm going to go. I will take this to places and create a lighter value than I maybe had a couple times. So I'm going to take that liner and come there and exaggerate the nose in that way. See how we're doing?
I do.
Just pulling that in. Playing with those colors. I've already got them on the palette, like my lightest turquoise. I can kind of come in and get and even some lemon yellow into it and really make it quite vibrant and light. Pulling along a couple places. I might be able to come along here and grab a little bit of maybe even my cad red into that, then that, and so the dark value and the light value has as much going on. Let's grab some of this pink peach. You can get a little lemon yellow in it. Doesn't really matter. It's on this. And we're going to add some very light lines flowing out. Now I may want to come here and grab some yellow and white. Make sure that that far, area on the eyes well thought out. Come up and above the eye. It's kind of shocking how much it impacts everything that we're doing. I'm just going to bring those lines out. And that does some energy, doesn't it? Do you see that energy, John? Do you love it?
I do. I think it's great energy. This horse, if it's not too presumptuous to say horse, this horse has good energy.
Well, this is an abstract of a horse, so it's the energy or the way I feel maybe about horses that I'm really talking about here.
Well, it's got horse energy.
Right? And to that. Right, and this just long lines with this. This can be hard if you're not used to doing this at all, right? If you haven't done fine lines at all. So what I'll say is that light pressure on the brush and committing to a stroke. If it releases, it's okay. You can always come back and put in another line that maybe gets stronger. Can take like orange through there and mix up those colors in those areas. And that creates another little set of energy that's quite strong and profound, right? If I come back and I pull a little orange in over the blue and I weave the colors that we have throughout this whole piece, then it really, really starts to pull it how we feel about it. I'm going to grab a little bit of our blue and our white. Kind of make sure that there's that nice cool anchor. A couple places so that the flow of the line feels like we paid attention to it. Which we did, didn't we? We got to pay
Yeah.
attention to it. And that's important. How do we pay attention to it? Come back with this. Look at us go. And every line that we put out, it has energy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then if I come back with just white, that creates quite a lot of energy as well. I just pull this through until I'm going to add some little highlights maybe here and a couple of places. Maybe a little cad yellow and lemon yellow. Dance that around a little bit. Whoa, we were playful. Look at us go.
That's really cool.
Now this is very much from, this probably reminds you a lot of all those horses I did, John.
It does. It does remind me of you.
I did a large collection of horses in an abstract manner. And if you were to see that, you would be like, I know that I'm very familiar with it, or I know that methodology or that expression, or, that way of looking at the subject. I really like this. I love that it's abstract, but I love that we know what it is. I love that it's got a lot of lyrical lines in it. I think that's just terrific. When you come back, I'm going to, I guess we could sign it, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm inclined not to sign, but this one is okay to sign because it's, fairly objective, and I actually think the signature might be even interesting in the composition, so it's okay. Sometimes with horses, signatures look really good. I don't know what that is, but that seems to be a true story about this as a topic. I think everyone's going to really love this. Like, I'm seeing this now. You guys haven't seen this yet, but I'm seeing this now, and I think you guys, when you see it, are going to be like, there are going to be some that are different people's favorites, and for all the horse people, a lot of people are going to be like, this is my horse. This is the spirit of my horse. So I think a lot of you guys are going to really feel this one. All right, let's go big, and I'll tell you what we're going to do next. So guys, I think that was a lot of fun. I really love him. There's a few pieces that I've done this year that are in my favorites, and I think he's definitely one of my favorites. I wish I could take a time machine and go back to my first years on YouTube and paint him. I think a lot of people would have loved doing that. I hope everyone who wanted to find him found him, whether you're doing acrylic April or you just love horses. If you love horses, I have other lessons on horses because I also love horses. Horses are so super cool. But it's been a minute since I've done something like this, so I'm glad to have come back to it. Now remember, resources, where are they at? They're in that description below when you hit the more. And there's materials and brushes and links to the website and links to where you can buy the materials, or because we have a store, or, more stuff like the references or the school, which might have extra information that you need, or, book or any of that stuff, a description. Or you can find it at theartsherpa.com because we really try not to hide it from you. We try to let you guys know what's out there. As at this stage, I want to also really thank the patrons. The patrons see this program a little bit early, and they really support our ability to do this. This really is a huge program, and we just have to stop doing everything we're doing to do it. And I couldn't do it without them, so I really, really appreciate it. So if you're a patron, I just thank you. But if you're patroning by sharing it and telling your friends, that counts too. I couldn't do that without you guys either. So I really enjoy doing this. I hope you guys are doing all 30 days of abstract this acrylic April. Remember, you can share your painting in the acrylic April group and everyone will be super supportive. I hope you guys are having fun with this. I want you to be good to yourselves and good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.